Good morning, everyone. My name is Bianca Morrow, and I would like to welcome you to the fourth and final webinar in our Inclusion 101 series, Inclusive Digital Space for the Well-Meaning, Well-Doing, and the Well-Clueless. Before we get started today, I'd like to show you two cool things: enlarging your captions and changing the size between the presentation and the presenter. So, to enlarge your captions in Zoom, as someone watching a webinar or participating in a Zoom meeting, you'll want to go up to the upper left-hand side of your screen where the Preferences menu is. Once you've opened the Preferences menu, your last menu option is Accessibility. Once you're in that window, you will see a slider that will enlarge and decrease the size of your captions to your preferences. Second, in order to change the relative size of the presentation and the presenters, you want to hover your mouse over the invisible line between these two frames in your screen. You will see when you do that, that your single arrow turns into two double arrows. You can then click and drag this slider left and right, and it will change the relative size of the presenters and the presentation. Here with me today are Maxine Farkas, the chair of the Lowell Cultural Council. Without Maxine and the support of the LCC, this series would not be possible. And our presenter today and author of this series, Carrie Thompson. Carrie has been a champion for the inclusion of people with disabilities in the arts and culture sector. As the executive director for Silent Rhythms, she has taught more than 5,000 people with disabilities how to dance, and has taught countless more people without disabilities how to include people with disabilities in the arts and in our community through events such as Lowell and Boston's Salsa in the Park. She's joining us today to share her knowledge and expertise on how to make our community even more inclusive, especially during the pandemic. For the fourth and final time, Carrie, they're all yours.
Thank you, Bianca. Thank you, Maxine. And a huge thank you to the Lowell Cultural Council for this opportunity to share my knowledge and experience and expertise, and probably sometimes my frustration on how to be inclusive and accessible of people with disabilities. And today's topic is going to be on robots, captions, and craptions. Right now, here in Massachusetts, we are now talking about reopening, and we've been talking about them in phases: phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and phase 4. I've been thinking a lot about how people with disabilities fit into all of these different phases. And so I see it as several phases as well. So I start thinking about this as phase 1 is focusing on people without disabilities. Phase 2 is focusing on the easiest of disabilities to accommodate. Phase 3 is focusing on those that are slightly more difficult to accommodate. Phase 4 is the group of disability that is the most hardest to accommodate, and they are often the last one that will be included if they are included at all. So I hope that we can try to get people with disability to be covered in all of the phases of reopening. And this also means for the new reality that we see ourselves in, we may be reopening, but things are not going to be the same. They're not going to go back to the way they were. We may be slowly reopening, but our new normal still means a lot of online meetings, online classes, online conferences, and online social interactions. So many organizations struggle with how to remove communications and digital barriers. Next slide, please. So I'm going to give you an overview of what I'm going to be talking about today during the topic of robot captions and craptions. The topic that I plan to cover today are: one is going to be Captioning 101, sort of a background into what captioning is, what it means, and for whom. I'm going to talk about Doom and Caption, what you should know about Caption. And I will teach you about how to live stream with Caption, I will talk about robots and how auto, and I see another spelling error. So robots and auto-generated caption, and then I'll talk about video transcripts. On the side of the screen, you should see I have so many different notes on the side of the screen, so I want to make sure that what I see is also what you see. So yes, so on this slide are two logos for a closed caption. One is a closed caption logo in which inside a box is the letter CC, two CCs. Then another logo is one of a caption box that looks more like a dialogue box, like a talk bubble, kind of like with the comic book, they have like a little bubble over the head of people to indicate that they're speaking and what they're saying. So I kind of want to give you a bit of a history on the challenges for individuals and even large organizations and understanding and addressing how to do communication access for all people. It's a topic that even I am a bit nervous about because it can be overwhelming and daunting, and technology is constantly changing. So it's a bit of a challenge to keep up also while we're using technology in a different way. So I have always been working with Captioner ever since my days in university, where I had a captioner come with me for my classes. And then when I moved into the professional world, I used Captioner for some of my one-on-one meetings or staff meetings, or for when I attended conferences. And I have also worked with videographers and had them make sure that they added their captions, add caption to the video as the final product. I did not really think too much about how they made that happen. To me, it was all theirs to handle and figure out. That's why I paid them. But now I find myself more in the position of having to create captions for videos myself and having to figure out how to have caption for online meetings and online events, as well as especially live events, and for virtual classes that are now being held for academic and the art and for the nonprofit. So my approach is often using the scientific method of developing a set of theories, and then I test each of these theories. A lot of time, I simply ask this question: what would happen if I push this button? So I understand that the tech can be a bit of a heavy topic, so we might finish this a little bit earlier to give you time to process what I'm saying. And I think a lot of what I'm going to be saying is something that you need time to experiment and go to these different platforms and put what I'm saying to the test. Next slide, please. So now I'm going to be giving you a little captioning 101. What is captioning? What is closed caption? What is subtitle? What is CART, C-A-R-T, and remote CART? Why should I be concerned with captioning? Who benefits from caption? And what is a craption? So I already talked about the logos for closed caption and what these were. They were started showing up in the late 80s, and this was before the American with Disabilities Act, where they were starting to come up with ways to have closed caption access for people who were deaf and hard of hearing. They started using it for some movies. PBS was one of the television channels that started using closed caption for their television shows. And then if you used to have a VCR and you bought one of those videotapes, and you would look on the box of the videotape, and somewhere on there would be a logo, CC, or the little dialogue box, and that would tell you that this movie is closed caption for the hard of hearing and the deaf. And then as we moved into going with DVDs, things started changing a little bit with the DVDs because the same logos were there, but the format started to look different. And again, not all of these movies, whether it was a videotape or a DVD, was showing with closed caption options. And it became more common, and slowly over the years, the standard after the American with Disabilities Act was signed July 26, 1990. Now, with DVDs started becoming the norm, it started using the subtitle format. And now, what is a subtitle? And how is this different from closed caption? It's true that people tend to use these for the same purpose or use these terms interchangeably. They do have the same purpose, and that they are putting in text format what people are saying. Subtitles, even before DVDs came out, were meant for foreign films. They were not words of the language spoken, but an alternate translation into words of what was spoken. So now, unfortunately, DVDs were starting to use the same format of subtitle, and they will consider English as a subtitle, which it is, of course, but they were using the same visual format of subtitle. Now, closed captions tend to be a black background with white font. That's the way it was back in the 80s, and that's the way it's been the standard for most television when you watch the news or press briefing on any of the standard channels like ABC or NBC or CBS or CNN. They're using the standard closed caption format. And then YouTube used the closed caption format, and what Bianca already talked about earlier today, that there is closed caption for this. If you want to click on the closed caption button, you can see that it's providing a solid background with font inside. It's helpful to see this way. It's easier on the eyes. So in addition to the terms of closed caption, subtitle, there is another type of captioning. It's called CART, C-A-R-T, or remote CART. CART means captioning in real time. A lot of time when you watch the news or press briefing, you are seeing captioning in real time, meaning that someone is listening to the caption as people are speaking. Sometimes it seems slower because you can see it's being typed. Sometimes you see the backspace. And then CART is also what you see if you attend a meeting or a conference and you saw on the right or left side a huge projector and it was showing what people were saying. A lot of times captioners are in the same room as everyone else. It's easy for them to see what's happening around and be able to provide captions that way. However, it's not always possible to have a captioner in the room, and so we call that remote CART. And so remote CART is somebody who is listening via the phone or a Zoom audio. So in this instance, we are using remote CART is being integrated into this Zoom meeting. So first, I want people to understand why they should be captioning and who benefits. People often assume that caption benefits only those who are deaf or hard of hearing. And that would also include the elderly population, that those who are getting older are having a harder time understanding the TV. So sometimes they benefit from closed caption. People who are deaf, like myself, certainly are the benefit and the target audience for caption, but we are not the only ones that benefit. People who speak English as a second language often turn to captions and subtitles for their movies to help them improve their English. I've had roommates over the years in the past, some from Colombia, some from Uganda and other countries, and they often like to watch movies with captions, even when I was not around, because they said it really helped them understand English jargons and terminologies. Another group that benefit, people who are not in an area where they can display their audio. They may be on the train, or you might be in work during your lunch break, and you don't want everyone to hear the video that's being played, but you still want to watch the video. If you have closed caption, people can still enjoy your video and know what's being said, even if they don't hear it. Another benefit is in noisy background, caption help those understand what is on the TV. Think sports bars. Now, I have a friend who is a professional captioner, and her brother, who was not really aware of what she does for a living, the two of them were actually in a sports bar, and there was a large TV, and the man looked at the TV with the caption on, and he suddenly had a bright idea. A light bulb went off in his head. He turned to his sister, the professional captioner. He knew she worked with the deaf, but he didn't know what she did. He said to her, "Wow, do you know people who are deaf could really benefit from this tool?" He believed that caption were actually something developed for sportscasts, for announcements of the game and for the sports bars. That's what he thought. But all of these people who wanted to watch the game but couldn't hear the announcement and the play-by-play over the noise of the restaurant and the bar had this benefit. Now here is another benefit. A lot of times what you think you hear is actually not what you really hear. So for example, another friend of mine was watching the movie Grease with me, and I had the captions on, and the song Grease Lightning was playing. She said, "Oh my God, this suddenly makes sense now." All this time, she thought the line that said, "the chicks will scream," like, "ah," was actually, "the chicks will cream." And she didn't understand why her parent did not like that song. And now she understood, because it means something other than actually screaming. So videos on YouTube are most likely to be watched if you have caption enabled. So that is a benefit to your organization and anyone who wants more people to watch their video. If you enable caption on your video, you are more likely to be watched more often than not. Next slide, please. Can you go back one slide? Thank you. So this slide is about Craption. So before I teach you about how to use caption, I want to explain what Craptions are. Craption is something that people create, for lack of a better, clean, classy language, crappy versions of caption. Crappy versions of caption can mean that it's auto-generated and there are lots of errors, that there's a lot of typing errors, there's a lot of grammar errors, or there are a lot of words that are not actually the right word. One time a caption said pink elephant when what the person said was Putin, as in the president of Russia. So the other thing about caption is when it's using a subtitle format. And the subtitle format is when it's having white font against the background of the film, but there is no solid background between the caption font and the movie font, the movie background, pardon me. So what this picture is a screenshot of a film showing the caption. So if you look at it, it's pretty difficult to see the caption with the background of the film. And you know where this film comes from? Netflix. Netflix does all of their films in this format. All of their movies are in this format. They are using the subtitle format. And a few years ago, Netflix, a lawsuit was filed against Netflix because they were not including caption or subtitles in any of their film. There was probably a few select movies and videos that had caption, but with new videos that weren't part of the previously standards of caption were not After that lawsuit, and the Supreme Court decided that Netflix had to caption all of their videos and formats and offerings, but they're using subtitle format, and basically, technically, they are complying with the law because then you're providing a reasonable accommodation, even if it's just the bare minimum. So next slide. So now I'm going to be talking about Doom and captioning, what to know, because a lot of us are starting to turn to Doom for one-on-one meeting, for staff meeting, for classes. There also, a lot of what I'll talk about today for Doom may apply to other platforms such as WebEx and GoToMeeting and some of these other different online meeting platforms. What I'm going to talk about under this category is using closed caption and Doom, the third-party captioning services, assigning a captioner, and ghost caption. So as Bianca mentioned before, that this meeting is using closed caption. You are in an accessible Doom webinar right now because we are showing a sign language interpreter and we are showing closed caption. This closed caption is being provided by a third-party captioner, which is being integrated directly into Doom. So if you have not, you should click on the closed caption icon at the button to see the caption. And what is a great tool for those who are participants is that, excuse me, if you are watching this Doom meeting and you have the caption turned on, Doom will automatically save the caption directly to your computer. You don't have to wait for the host of this meeting to send you the caption or transcript. It's automatically saved directly on your computer. It is a feature that the administrator or the host has to enable before the meeting. I'll teach you in a minute how to do that. Now, here is a big caveat for Doom and captioning. The video recording of Doom does not save the caption directly onto the video recording. It saves it as a separate file. So sometimes this is frustrating for many people who don't realize this ahead of time and believe they put the cost for a professional captioner and using Doom and enabling Doom closed caption feature that they have checked off all of the box. There's actually a couple more boxes to check off. But the great thing about working with a third-party captioner is that they can provide a transcript after the meeting. Sometimes they even clean it up before they send you the final files, and they usually send you several different versions of the file. Okay? Like an SRT file or a TXT file. Sometimes they can put it into a Word document. So the next thing I want to talk about for Doom has two ways of providing caption. You already see the evidence of a third-party captioner, but in Doom, you can assign other people to be the captioner. We're not going to demonstrate this because we already have the captions set up in this meeting, but what you can do for a meeting or a webinar, as long as the closed caption is enabled, what the host will see when he or she starts the meeting is that the closed caption box will automatically pop up with a dialogue asking, who do you want to assign as the captioner? If you have other people out of the waiting room, but they're now in the meeting, you can assign that person, another participant, to be the captioner. So for example, we have Maxine on this, and if Bianca decided that she wants Maxine to be the captioner, she could assign Maxine to be the captioner, and Maxine will be able to type directly from her computer into the closed caption icon that we all see. Again, we're not going to demonstrate that, so Maxine, you can rest easy. But this is a really great feature if you do not have a professional captioner, or perhaps you have a very small meeting, it's the one-on-one meeting, and if you were talking to someone who was deaf or hard of hearing, or maybe somebody who does not know English very well, that you can enable the caption feature for your one-on-one meeting, so you can type what you're saying. You can also do that in the chat feature, but doing it directly means that the caption is right there over the screen with the video, and so you're not trying to close one thing to type something in the chat. Here's another little tip to know, is that sometimes the host will not see the closed caption icon even if others do. I know, this is weird. And I've discovered this myself a few times when I was the host of a meeting and the captioner was there to help communication access for me. But as the host, I was not able to see the closed caption icon even if everyone else did. So I had to reassign a co-host and take myself off as a host, and then I was able to see the closed caption icon. So the next slide, please. Oh, wait a minute. Yes, next slide. How to turn on captions. So this is a screenshot of what you're going to see in the Doom settings. So once you click the settings option and you scroll down to the bottom, you'll see these two options. One is for closed captioning and the other is for saved caption. Make sure that both of these are turned on. Most of the time, this is only something that an administrator of your Doom account can do. So for example, my organization has a main Doom account, and then each of its staff have a sub Doom account. Then I might not be able to turn on caption directly for myself in my account until the main Doom account is turned on. So that enables for all of the sub accounts. So the closed captioning feature at the top is the one that when you turn that on, it allows the host to assign somebody in the meeting to be the captioner, whether it's a third party or another person, a participant, your colleague. Now the option underneath, save caption, this is important because otherwise Doom does not always save the caption. Theoretically, Doom is supposed to save the caption for the recording, all of the different things that people type in the chat, but they don't always include the caption. That means that you're more likely to have the caption saved from Doom for the host. The saved caption means also that all of the participants during the meeting will also be able to have the caption saved to their computer after the meeting. Next slide, please. Okay, so what are ghost captions? On this screen is a screenshot from another webinar I was attending. This is an unintentional caption that happened. They usually do have a professional captioner, but due to the lateness of a previous meeting for this organization, they weren't able to get the professional captioner in on time. And suddenly, so I was looking at this screen going, what? Where is the professional caption and what the heck is that caption at the very bottom? And so this is what I learned, that PowerPoint have this feature for accessibility. And so when you have your PowerPoint directly into the Doom meeting on the share screen, somehow the caption automatically come on. It's an auto-generated caption. And as you can see in this picture, it's really, really small. You can barely see it, but it's at the very bottom underneath the slide. The way to fix that is to turn off the accessibility option in your PowerPoint for the person who is using the PowerPoint and sharing the PowerPoint on their screen. The other way is that usually it shows up when you're in full screen mode, but if you have a smaller screen, it usually goes away. Next slide, please. I mentioned very briefly about video transcripts. So when you have a professional captioner and you can get multiple options from the professional captioner for the SRT file and the text file and a Word document version, I really like to have the Word document version made available for the public. And the reason why I do this is because that often people who are low vision, like myself, it's very difficult to read the caption on the video because sometimes it's too fast and I can't keep up, or maybe it's too small and I can't read that format. So after, when you're posting the recording, sometimes people copy and paste the transcript into the YouTube comment. Sometimes they provide it as a link and put it into a website and attach it. Another really good tool about having a professional captioner and having a caption file in Word is that if you have people who speak English as a second language or not English at all, you can upload the caption Word document into Google Translate, and Google Translate will translate the entire document. It's not going to be a perfect, accurate translation, but it is an option. I did this recently for work for Disability Rights Fund, which is an international grant maker. So I took the English translation of the caption note and had it available in French, Indonesian, and Haitian Creole. So it gave more people more access to what I was talking about. Okay. I also want to remind people that captions are not accessible by screen reader, so you cannot assume that people who are blind or low vision using a screen reader are able to read the caption on YouTube or caption on a movie. Okay, so now we are going to talk about how to live stream with caption. So there are two typical options for live streaming: Facebook Live and YouTube Live. Next slide. Can you go to the next slide, please? Yeah, this one. Perfect. So this is a screenshot showing the dance ASL project for silent rhythm. And this is a dance class where side by side, you have the video of the sign language interpreter on the left side, and on the right side is the dance teacher. And then you can see the captions at the bottom. So this is going through Facebook Live. And this is the recording from Facebook Live. So when you are whether you are streaming from either Zoom, if you are streaming from Zoom and you have a closed caption, you have a captioner, the caption does show up on Facebook Live when you're streaming it from Zoom. And YouTube is also streaming to YouTube if you are streaming to YouTube Live. But the captions disappear from the live recording. So after the fact, the caption disappear for those people who are not able to join the live session. You go back later and look at the recording, the caption is not there. I know, right? But there are some workarounds on this. The good news, if you are live streaming to YouTube, sometimes YouTube will have it automatically generate a caption. So even if you do not have a captioner coming from Zoom, if you are live streaming from Zoom without a captioner to YouTube Live will generate automatic caption. So this is a huge saving for people who don't have the cost for a professional captioner. This is something that they can do. And then for YouTube Live, if you are directly live streaming from YouTube and not from another source, you can go to, when you go to the video and you first schedule your live stream of your video, then, and you add in the description, and there is an option to, on the setting, to turn the captions on. I want to say that Facebook Live does not have an option to turn on auto-generated caption if you are going directly from your computer to Facebook Live. You can use a third-party person like from 3Play Media or AI Media. Both of them are able to encode into Facebook Live so that the captions are projected there. So this picture of the Silent Rhythm Dance ASL project with the caption, it came up by accident. I actually was only going to offer sign language only because it's a dance class and extremely visual. So a lot of time dance teachers are talking part of the time and then they're demonstrating. So I felt that it was sufficient just to have an ASL interpreter. So I was watching on my laptop in the broadcast studio. I was using StreamYard, which is a cool app. And on a second laptop, I started looking directly on Facebook on my computer, on the second computer, so I could see what other people saw. And I looked at that computer and I go, oh my gosh, the captions are showing up. How did that happen? Cool, but how did it happen? I'm not sure I can still answer that question. So, two theories. One is in StreamYard, I live stream to both Facebook and YouTube at the same time. So I don't know if this is somehow what made it possible for a caption to show up automatically on Facebook Live. The second theory is that for myself personally, I have all of my video turned on to automatic captions. So if the captions are made available, they automatically show up. So that's the other theory, that it's possible that somehow my personal video setting transferred over to my Silent Rhythm Facebook account, which is connected to my personal account as well. So on the next slide, please. Now, some people don't realize that they can even view closed caption on YouTube. So I just wanted to first show you, this is Facebook actually, so we're still looking at Facebook Live. I want to show you how for Facebook, any video, whether it's live or something that was uploaded, if the uploader enables the caption feature, you click the little gear option at the bottom underneath the video, and it will show up with the option to turn on caption. So you just slide it on and off. You can see my setting was turned on. Next slide, please. Okay, don't worry, I have a lot more to say. I just don't have slides in between. Let me get to the right place in my notes. Okay, so I'm gonna briefly tell you from YouTube what to do to create subtitles or closed caption. The first thing you do is once you're logged into YouTube Studio, from the left menu, select Subtitle, click the video you would like to edit, and then click Add Languages and select your language. In this case, it's English. Under Subtitles, click Add. Play the video and enter your caption. Now don't forget to add text descriptions on other sounds, such as music is playing. That was something I forgot to mention about closed caption. Closed caption, the thing that it does that subtitles does not, closed caption tells you what's happening in the background. It tells you if there was a doorbell that rang, if there was a phone ringing, if there's music playing, if there was a song playing, they showed you the lyrics. But subtitles, if music is playing, if there's a song playing, they often don't tell you what the song lyrics are. Okay. So then this is how you would upload your video. If your video is already there and you want to go back, you can go ahead and add the caption through this method. And then also, if you don't like the way, if you have auto-generated caption and there's a lot of errors, you can also edit the subtitles in YouTube and modify it so that it takes a few attempt to finally figure out how it works, but once you do, it's pretty easy. So now, if you want to have a YouTube live stream event, this is the steps you need to take. You select stream at the top, you enter a title and description for your live event, and then you click create stream. Then you click setting and you toggle on to caption. So then now your YouTube live session is automatically showing caption. Now for Facebook Live, now again, Facebook Live does not show auto-generated caption during Facebook Live. But you can go back later to your live recording and turn on caption. To do that, if you have a caption file, such as, remember, if you have a professional captioner, get the caption file, and then you can go ahead and take the caption file and upload it to Facebook Live. You can do the same thing for YouTube if you have professional caption, to upload the professional caption. But if you don't have Facebook Live, I don't think it doesn't auto-generate caption. So it's a matter of uploading the caption file. So if you do not have a professional captioner, you can click the link of your Facebook Live event and send it to a company called rev.com, REV.com, and they will caption the video. Pardon me. They won't directly caption the video. What they will do is type up a caption document and send it back to you. And you go ahead and upload that. It's usually $1 per minute. So if you have a 30-minute video, it's just $30. Okay. And then to go to upload the caption file to Facebook Live, you go to your Facebook page, go to the Facebook video, click on the timestamp. So that's the day that you post that video. The timestamp will make it go into theater mode. From the theater mode, you click edit this video. Under captions below the description, add choose file. Upload your caption file, and then you're good to go. So I want to wrap up. I hope everyone is still with me. I know that this is kind of boring, and sometimes it's interesting, and sometimes it's just a bit overwhelming if you are not familiar with all of these different options in the first place. But give it time, it gets easier, I promise. So this is what I want to leave you with, a couple of thoughts. So this is a quote that is from a person named Yehuda Berg. Words have energy and power with the ability to help, to heal, to hinder, to hurt, to harm, to humiliate, and to humble. Kind of want to add to that says words also have the power to ignore, to forget, and to make some feel further away from your message. I want to sum a few of the philosophies from the last 4 weeks. The first one, the door philosophy. Keep your door open and put your welcome mat out so that all people, including people with disabilities, feel welcome. 2, always be thinking about, what do you see? What do you hear? If others don't see or hear the same things you do, give them an opportunity to see and hear your perspective. 3rd, give your driver a map and a GPS so they know where to go. This was about the conversation on accessible virtual meeting and making sure that if you are working with a captioner or a sign language interpreter, that you provide them with the information ahead of time. So for all of these meetings ahead of time, I shared my PowerPoint slides and I shared my transcript to the captioner and sign language interpreter so they would know some of the things that I was going to talk about. Because again, sometimes what you hear is not what someone else hears. Remember, between cream and scream, some people hear things differently. The last philosophy from this week, your words matter. help everyone have the chance to listen. And I'm going to give you another quote. This one is my own quote. So the Carrie quote is, "Words matter. They express your thoughts and perspective. Often the one who needs to hear your words the most do not listen, while those who do not hear but try to listen the hardest are the one no one speaks to." So as I want to wrap up, I want to say that you can add your question to the Q&A. I also want to acknowledge that there are many different caption tools. There are caption tools to caption a video that's not in YouTube. Like, you don't want to upload your video to YouTube or Facebook. You want it to be private. You want it to just go from yourself to another person. You can use a software called AutoCap. That was something that will auto-generate caption. I think somebody said that it's about $20 for a year subscription. That's pretty reasonable. Some of you may have other tools and feedbacks and tips. So why don't you go ahead and share those in Q&A, and we can all try to benefit. So technology is constantly changing, and there are constantly new apps. It's hard to keep track of everything. So I don't know everything that's out there. And the other thing that I also want to mention is that for the last couple of weeks, Bianca has been doing an amazing job. But she's also learned along the way that there are so many different options for captioning. And sometimes one is not so easy, and another, it gets a little bit easier. So now in our 4th week, she's gotten the hang of it. And I thought perhaps maybe she would like to share some of her lessons learned. And while people are still putting in their questions, the other thing that I want to say is how important it is to be inclusive of people with disabilities in the arts and culture sector. We are all trying to figure out what the arts and culture sector is going to be looking like for the years to come, and not just the days and months ahead. And I want to make sure that people with disabilities are part of that conversation. I know that maybe some of you will still have questions about inclusion and access down the road. And you can email me, as you can see on this slide, Carrie@silentrhythmsboston.org. The other thing that I encourage you to do is to follow and like Silent Rhythms on Facebook. And you can see a lot of these a lot of these assets in action. And the other thing that I want to say is that in July, which is the month of the American with Disabilities Act anniversary, it was signed July 26th. And that is going to be a month that Silent Rhythms is going to do a lot of celebration around the ADA. And one thing we plan to do is to have a town hall, a virtual town hall for the disability community and the arts community. You can hear from artists with disabilities about their challenges during the pandemic. You can also hear from the disability community about what they would like to see. Not everyone from the disability community who have an interest in the art is an artist themselves. They have been part of the audience. They came to your show. They came to some of your classes. They listened to your play, and they watched your art. So I want to have this town hall to give people with disabilities a voice to talk and engage with the arts community. So details are still being in the work, but I want you to keep following Silent Rhythms on Facebook, and we'll make announcements about more information of that. Okay, so now I'll turn it over to Bianca.
Hi, Carrie. Thank you so much again for everything. And I'll do my sappy closing remarks at the very end. But for now, since we already have a couple questions queued up in the Q&A, I will turn to those. But you did want me to talk about my experience over the last 4 weeks a little bit. And so I'll keep that brief. But what I have to say is that I fumbled, obviously. It took 2 weeks of fumbling and immense embarrassment, because here we are hosting a webinar on accessibility and inclusion, and I was doing my very best in weeks 1 and 2 to meet those standards of accessibility and inclusion. But like you said, it's a learning curve and a steep one. So week 1, we attempted to go live on Facebook at the same time that we were doing the webinar. I can only describe the result as a dumpster fire. I don't think that I heard a minute of your actual lecture. I watched it afterwards, but I don't think I heard a minute of your actual webinar live, because I, along with Jane Long from BRM and Christian Hernandez from the city, were viciously texting, chatting, and calling in the background, trying to get the captions working, trying to get Rachel's screen big enough so everyone could see the ASL. And we learned a lot of lessons about live captioning not translating to Facebook Live, which I didn't expect. I thought that if we had everything sorted on the webinar that it would automatically do that, and it did not, which is why for the subsequent weeks, we have posted the video later to Facebook as well as our YouTube channel, because the live captioning just was not panning out like we hoped. The second biggest challenge was embedding the captions into the videos after the fact. So Sam Gould has a question that I'm going to answer as part of mine. Sam asked, are you using CART for this webinar or a private captioner? Are you aware of a list of any local captioners? So I'll pass the second part of the question on to you, Carrie. But to Sam, we are using a live captioner. Her name is Sherry Majeski. She's wonderful. And I will let Carrie answer the part about how to get in contact with captioners. But this is a live captioner. Sherry does all the work live during the webinar. And then after the webinar, she sends me both an SRT file and a Word doc. The SRT file, so I began editing these in iMovie, because everyone has iMovie on their laptop or on their Mac if they have one. And I wanted to try to do this in the simplest way possible so that we could pass this information on to people easily. So I opened up iMovie, I thought I had everything under control, and then I went to start to upload the captions and realized that I couldn't figure it out. After lots of Googling, some forums, and a couple of YouTube videos, I was informed that iMovie does not actually have the accessibility features that are required to upload and embed SRT files. I could have typed the captions in myself, but that would have taken me until now for the one single video. So I then needed to learn Adobe Premiere, which is another video editing software. There are other softwares that work with captions and video editing, but since I have an Adobe license for my business, I was trying to use software that I already had access to. So I spent about a week fumbling around in Adobe Premiere, probably more like 3 days, but it felt like a lifetime, watching a lot of YouTube videos, learning how to use the software, and then learning how to use the software to embed and control the look of captions. It turns out that it is a very powerful interface for captions. It gives you pretty much every option under the sun. So if anyone has questions about using Adobe Premiere and captioning, they can absolutely contact me, and I will help walk them through it. But what our final product ended up is an Adobe Premiere edited video with burned in captions, which I then post to Facebook and our YouTube channel. Along with the description of our video, I include a link to both the PowerPoint presentation and to the Word document containing a transcript. That way, viewers of our video have access to both of those files independently, either to review alongside the video, or in the case of the Word doc, to input into their screen readers or translate into another language. So with that, Carrie, I would like to combine, Sam asked another question, so I would like to ask her second question after the first. So Sam's first question, which follows mine, was, are you aware of a list of local captioners to use for things like this?
So I also want to answer the question about that you were talking about captioning, and talk about iMovie a bit too. So a list of captioner, You can always request a captioner through the interpreter referral program with the Mass Commission for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing. They have a list of captioners, and so when you put in the request for a specific event, they put it into their directory and then make it the job available for everyone in the directory to look at. And the captioner can say, hey, I'm available. And then the Mass Commission for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing will assign the captioner. Now, I think I mentioned before that one of the reasons why it's so good for organizations to have a person with a disability on staff is that you're able to tap into their personal network of interpreters and captioners and different resources that they've used over the years. So for the last almost 15 years since I've moved to Boston, I've had the pleasure to work with so many different captioners. And sometimes it's because I attended an event and I liked the captioner there, and I said, hi, my name is Carrie. Do you have your information and I can contact you in the future? Sometimes I ask captioner if they have a recommendation for another captioner if they're not available themselves. And this is actually how I came to meet Sherry, is because one of my usual captioners, Debbie, was not available and she gave me Sherry as a recommendation. And that's also a really good thing, is to have a recommendation come from another captioner, because they know their staff and they know who's good and who is maybe a little bit shaky on the topic. To Bianca's point about iMovie, I wanted to give that there is another way to edit movie, and you can now edit movies in YouTube. So YouTube now has like a YouTube creator studio, and you can edit your movie in YouTube just like you were doing with iMovie, but YouTube editor, you can also upload your video. So I almost wish I had this session first. So to save Bianca so much headache the last couple of weeks. So I'm sorry about that, Bianca.
It's fine. I actually really enjoy learning new things. So, but I often like learning them maybe without the kind of panic that I experienced in the first week, but it got the job done. So Sam had another part to her question that I'm actually not sure what the answer is. So I'm going to see if you know, Carrie. She says, can you enable captioning on Zoom if you have a personal account and not a professional account? She then said, also, this is very informative and helpful, but can we write the instructions that you gave on the last slide so we can try to step by step through the platforms ourselves? I'm trying to see the transcript as well, but just in case. So Sam, we will have a link to the full transcript as a Word document along with the video posted to Facebook and YouTube, just in case you want to have access to that. But Carrie, regarding the personal versus professional Zoom accounts, do you know the answer to that?
I'm actually not sure, because I've always been doing it under a professional Zoom account, but I don't see why not. So again, a lot of this approach is about taking a scientific method approach. You have a theory. Could a personal Zoom account enable caption? Go look in your settings and find out. My only Zoom account is a professional one, and in the beginning, I couldn't turn on caption in my professional account because it was a sub account. I had to go to the administrator of the main account and ask them to turn it on, and that enabled that feature for all of the sub accounts. Was there another question? I'm trying to remember. You can also Google, Facebook Live does not have a lot of, there's really not anything in Google search. If you were trying to Google, how do I add caption to Facebook Live or Facebook? It's really sort of vague. But if you Google for YouTube, how to add caption to YouTube, there's really a lot of nice, thoughtful, step-by-step process.
Okay. I don't see any other questions in the Q&A right now, so I'm going to go ahead and give my sappy thank yous. First, I would like to acknowledge everyone who has made this possible over the last 4 weeks. Obviously, Carrie Thompson, Executive Director of Silent Rhythms and Inclusion Activist, thank you so much. Maxine Farkas, Chairwoman of the LCC, thank you for making this possible. Christian Hernandez, City of Lowell and LCC Administrator, thank you for diligently running our slides for the last 4 weeks and dealing with us constantly. Rachel Judelson, thank you so much for your ASL interpreting for the last 4 weeks. You are wonderful. Sherry Majeski, thank you so much for your captioning. Jane Long, thanks for keeping everything running smoothly in the background. And again, my name is Bianca Morrow. I've been your host and fumbling video editor for the last 4 weeks. Thank you so much, Carrie, for giving me this opportunity. And lastly, I'd like to say that, Carrie, from our conversations here and offline, I'm just beginning to get a sense of how difficult and lonely this pandemic and the resulting quarantine has been for the deafblind community especially, although I could never fully understand the impact that this has had on people. I want to personally thank you for agreeing to come on this journey with us, and I sincerely hope that everyone listening is able to use this incredible wealth of information Carrie has shared over the last 4 weeks to help elevate the accessibility of their future events, both virtual and later in person, and make sure that no one is left out of these rich cultural, education, and arts experiences. It has been an absolute pleasure to host this series, and I would again like to thank everyone who made this possible. Carrie, is there anything you would like to say before we wrap up your series on inclusion?
I just want to say thank you. I know sometimes change can be scary, but we're already going through scary times, so you might as well change. So thank you, and I'm always here in the background. You have my email address if you want to share your thought. If you feel like people may be concerned about changing or trying something new, remind them of the benefit that they become more open to a broader audience, the more accessible and inclusive they become. And you may also remember that sometimes a donor could be somebody who is a person with a disability or a family member who has a disability. So keep in mind that donors are also watching accessibility and inclusive effort. So when they start to see that, they realize that they would really like to be investing in your projects. So thank you everyone for being here.
All right, thank you so much. We hope everyone has a wonderful weekend. And if you want to reach out to the Lowell Cultural Council, the best way to find us is through our Facebook page. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day.